Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, what I do is I scout and research all the young top footballers up and coming and give you an in-depth analysis on his strengths, weaknesses, and we'll back it up, well, hopefully back it up with some statistics. But I'm gathering you all here because Enzo Barrenechea has been linked to Aston Villa. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on Enzo, and then talk about his strengths in and out of possession, talk about his weaknesses and how he would compare to Douglas Luiz, who he looks like is replacing at Aston Villa, and then back it up with hopefully some statistics. And I hope you all enjoy here. But if you're new here, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because I'm still new to this space. So it all adds up and all helps, because I've only done a few videos and we'll best get going. So who is Enzo Barrenechea? Enzo Barrenechea is an Argentine-born footballer. He's 23 years old. He was born in Villa Maria in Argentina on the 22nd of May 2001. He started out his career at Newell Old Boys before moving to Sion for 3.1 million in 2009. Before moving to Europe and joining up with the old lady Juventus in 2020. He has been loaned out to Frosinone for this season, 2023-24 season, where he's really excelled, even though Frosinone did get relegated. But I think him and probably Matthias Sule, his best friend in football, actually give Frosinone that chance of survival. Although they didn't get it over the line, their performances would not go unmissed. And was hindered a little bit because on 22nd of May 2021, which is actually his birthday, he torn his ACL ligament, which kept him out of action for 8 months. And that did stop his development in football. And that's probably why he spent more time in the youth academy than expected. But since he's come back, he's been absolutely exceptional. And I think that's a testament to his mentality and his character. So Enzo joined up with Di Francesco, the Frosinone manager this season. And Di Francesco is quite innovative with his tactics and his formations. And he does like to amend them every so often. So if you look at Frosinone's tactics throughout this season, they've played with a 4-man midfield, a 3-man midfield, a 2-man midfield, and even a 1-man midfield. And that was Enzo Barrenechea just anchoring the players ahead of him. So he does have that versatility. Not only that, he is good in the defensive third, but he's also very intelligent in the attacking third as well. He's been tasked with responsibilities of linking defense to attack, in and out of possession, acting as a both midfield destroyer and a deep-lying playmaker for Frosinone. In terms of the playing philosophy, Di Francesco likes to play out from the back, trusting his players in possession with the mindset of moving the ball forwards, and that's quite similar to Unai Emery at Aston Villa. More often than not, Enzo will receive from the centre-backs or the right or the full-backs under pressure because Di Francesco instructs him to. So he will receive that ball under pressure, predominantly just behind that first line of press, where he can move the ball forward, turn on the ball, and he's been tasked with, when he receives a ball, turning on the ball and spreading the player wide, because Frosinone are aggressive with their full-back push-ups, and Enzo exploits that and uses that to their advantage. And that's exactly what he's good at. So let's talk about Enzo positionally and defensively. So positionally, he's great. He's a brilliant defensive-minded midfielder. Enzo is well educated at being at the right place at the right time. As the opposition progresses their build-up, Enzo's constantly scanning to see who's showing for the ball, where the opposition are, so he can intervene, intercept the ball, or just break play up. I always say this, every single elite level midfielder should have 360 vision when they play in the middle of the park. And that's exactly what Enzo has. One of his biggest strengths is his awareness, his scanning, and his anticipation. His reading of the game and his intelligence of the game is second to none. He always seems to be at the right place at the right time, sniffing out danger, tracking runners, aggressively pressing, or just cutting out passing lanes. He's not only intelligent, but his ball-winning toolkit is incredibly diverse as well. He can tackle, he can intercept, he contests aerially fantastically, he recovers loose balls. He's just a well-rounded, solid defensive midfielder, and we will touch on this in the statistics very shortly. So what's he look like when he's out of possession? Well, Enzo stands at 6'1", so he's a very tall midfielder. He's got long limbs, and he uses that to his advantage, whether it's covering space because he covers a large amount of the grass. He's aggressive when he's pressing, and he's assertive in his challenges. He uses his size and his strength to spawn his zone and control. He takes a large amount of zone and covers a large amount of ground. With speed, he's not the quickest. He's not the quickest off the mark. He's not the quickest over distances, but he's quick enough to cover his speed, and his long limbs and long strides make that to his advantage. Enzo prioritizes winning the ball over scanning, covering, or delaying, but he can do the latter if when needed. The versatility of his tackling technique also stands out. He's excellent when reading opposition's movements and snatching the ball beneath them. He uses his body well to shield the ball. He doesn't mind physical contact, engaging with opponents, and he uses his long legs to strengthen his core and really battle off his opponents. He reads the game better than most. He's excellent at acknowledging exactly what his opposition are going to do, whether that be play through balls so he can block out the passing lanes, whether it be driving towards him so he can engage, and touching upon that when he's got a player driving towards him, looking to take him on. You'll often see him hunching like a crab-like stance when he's facing an attacker, and he enlarges his zone to take control of it. This allows him to time his challenges and do his interventions masterly and cleanly. Enzo is also excellent at pushing off either foot. So whether an attacker goes on the left side or the right side of him, he's excellent and incredibly diverse in which favourite foot he can tackle from. Because we do see a lot of defensive midfielders or defenders, they're really limited to one side. Whereas Enzo, he's great covering the right back, whether at covering the left back, chauffeuring opposition out wide, or just blocking out passing lanes with both feet. One of my favourite aspects of Enzo is when he's not in that tackling mode where he's aggressive, he's laser focused, he's so concentrated in his tasks, in his role, whether that be keeping the line, keeping shape, blocking passing lanes, scanning, looking for opposition. He's fully immersed in the game and what it involved, in doing his responsibilities with care. Being that laser focused has its major assets. Means he can jump into passing lanes to cut them off. He can double up and help opponents, tackle opponents. He can be physical, he can be intelligent, and his skills are extremely diverse when he's blocking out passing lanes. You'll often see him in central areas, just in the left and right half spaces, just sniffing out any danger, any counter attacks. And doing so allows other players to express themselves more. And that, especially the way Unai Emery sets his team up, he likes to play that quick counter attack, moving the ball very quickly, getting it forward very quickly. It allows players to cheat a little, knowing that they've got Enzo for that security. One of the best aspects of Enzo when out of possession is he adds culture to his steel. What I mean by that, once he's won the ball back, he has a technical ability on the ball to launch counter-attacks. That'll be extremely effective under Unai Emery. Yet when he's not in tackling mode, he's laser-focused, blocking out passing lanes. When he wins that ball back, his first thought is, can I play the ball forward? When he's tackling, he likes to poke the ball into space or trigger areas where he can combine with teammates. So as soon as he wins the ball back, he moves the ball into space. He moves it away from danger. He's got that mindset to know exactly where danger can be, and he goes the opposite way, and that allows Aston Villa or whoever he may be playing for to beat the next set of press and move the ball into space. Physically, technically, absolutely sound to come away with the ball in possession. This is ideal for quick counter-attack situations, to transition the ball from defence to attack as quickly as possibly, as smartly and as cultured as he can. That's exactly what Aston Villa are brilliant at. He possesses remarkable intelligence and sense on how to manage situations, when to press, when to hold shape, when to engage, when to cut out passing lanes. He very rarely gets his decision-making wrong, and that adding this sort of intelligence to his defensive capabilities, it makes for a wonderful anchorman. He reads the game exceptionally well. He makes good decisions as to when to come out and engage on the ball and when to hold his position. So what's Enzo like in possession? Technically, Enzo is absolutely gifted, and in my opinion, so underrated. His close control is beautiful. He's moving the ball into space is excellent. He'll offer a different dimension to what Douglas Luiz does. Douglas Luiz is incredible in possession. I love Douglas Luiz. For me, he's transformed Villa into an absolute monster in transition, defensive capabilities. And Enzo's not far off Douglas Luiz, because they're both heavily involved in the build-up phase, especially that first build-up phase. Both tasked with receiving the ball from the centre-backs and will offer solutions to receive it. If there's no space, they will find space. If there's no space, they will create space. You'll often see Enzo dropping further deep just to create space ahead of him. If he doesn't receive it, they can punch a 20-yard pass into maybe Kamara or John McGinn or somebody a little bit further forward naturally than what Enzo will be. When he does receive the ball, you will see him quickly spin on the half turn, moving the ball with a one touch. His one touch is brilliant. Receiving his back to goal is brilliant. And that'll just give Unai Emery, Aston Villa, the players on the ball, another dimension, another solution on how to beat that first and maybe second line of press. And then it's up to Unai Emery what he wants to do, because at Frosinone, they like to get wide. They like to spray the ball out wide. Whereas at Aston Villa, when Enzo gets on the ball, he's going to have a lot more options because he's playing with better players. He's playing with players that are more intelligent at receiving and finding space, and playing with players that can receive more comfortably under pressure. So Unai Emery will give him the option of playing it short, making more combination plays, little triangles in the midfield to maybe beat that first and second line of press, and that'll allow Aston Villa to move the ball through transitions a lot more smoothly, effectively and quickly. Because when you think about it, under Unai Emery, Aston Villa like to win the ball back and they like to attack quickly and centrally. So Emery's sides have registered actually 29 direct attacks this Premier League campaign centrally. So adding somebody as good on the ball as Enzo will just kickstart these quick transitions a lot more effectively. He's able to progress the ball quickly through the lines and more advanced teammates. If Frosinone was tasked with beating the first line of press and actively switching the ball to wingers, at Villa, he's going to have a lot more options. So how would this benefit Unai Emery and Aston Villa from a tactical standpoint? Well, Unai Emery likes to play either a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, depending on his opponents and his tactics he's implementing in that game. So, additionally, in the centre of midfield, he likes to play with a double pivot. Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara have been the usual double pivot. And what they do is provide cover, support underneath in and around the attacking areas to prevent oppositions breaking on them, to prevent counter-attacks. That's exactly why Enzo would be ideal to Aston Villa standpoint tactically, because he covers more ground than Douglas Luiz, he tackles more than Douglas Luiz, he intercepts more than Douglas Luiz. He's just all-round defensively better than Douglas Luiz. But in possession, he likes to move the channels in the central areas when needed. So he needs to have that versatility where he can move in those attacking zones when needed, or just stand his ground, keep shape when needed. You often use McGinn when they're playing a 4-4-2. You often use McGinn out on the left where he can come in the inside, especially when defending. In possession, now what Unai Emery likes to do is have one of these midfielders withdrawn from the central areas more into those almost centre-back territory, and this allows his full-backs to get pushed on. And if they do sign Ian Maatsen from Chelsea, he's an advancing midfielder. So I think Unai Emery's got this sign in mind to express his full-backs a lot more. With Ollie Watkins up front, who's shown the ability to not only link up play, but also move in behind him with Moussa Diaby, with those supporting runs, it just gives Enzo a lot more freedom in terms of how he distributes the ball. Unai Emery likes to adopt a more of aggressive high-line pressing approach when defending. So having someone like Enzo, and as good as he is, out of possession, this allows more advanced players to be more aggressive, to press higher up the pitch, to commit further up the pitch, and this will force more turnovers, leading to more shots, more goals for Aston Villa. Everything that I'm trying to say, I'm going to give you some statistics on how he compares to players in Serie A, Frosinone, and then Aston Villa. So if we look at passes completed throughout this campaign, this is league campaign only. Enzo completed 1,624 passes. That's first in Frosinone. He completed the most passes in the squad. When you compare that against Aston Villa, he finished third, only behind Konza and guess who? Douglas Luiz. That goes to show the ability, how much of an influence Douglas Luiz has on the build-up phase, but also Enzo, and that's why I think it would be a wonderful replacement. Progressive passes. In the whole of Serie A, Enzo finished third with 155. Comparing that to Aston Villa, he finished third in Aston Villa's group, only behind McGinn and Douglas Luiz. Tackles completed. Enzo 65 throughout the Serie A campaign. That was first in Frosinone, 17th in the league. How does he compare against Aston Villa? Well, if he had completed 65 tackles at Aston Villa, he would have finished with the most in the Premier League. Who is behind him? John McGinn, who finished with 59. So he completed more than every Aston Villa defender and Douglas Luiz. Tackles and interceptions combined, he finished with 92. That's first in Frosinone's squad, 26 in the whole of Serie A. How's that compared to Aston Villa? Because that's what we're doing. He finished first. So he would have had more tackles and interceptions combined than any other player in Aston Villa's squad. The closest to him was Konza with 82. So he finished with 10 more. Dribblers challenged. And this highlights his ability to track runners, work hard, just really get in the faces of dribblers and engage with opponents. He finished first in Frosinone's squad, 9th in Serie A. Against Aston Villa, he finished first. The closest to him was John McGinn with 77. Now, this is a key one for me because off the ball, I think Aston Villa like to press, work hard, and recover the ball as soon as possible and have good ball recoveries, because then they can transition from defense to attack very quickly. So how many did Enzo finish with collectively? 231. That was first in Frozione's squad, third in the whole of the Serie A. How's he compared to Aston Villa? Well, he would have finished first. The closest to him was Douglas Luiz with 184. What I'm trying to say is Douglas Luiz and Enzo are very similar footballers. They've got the same sort of instincts and capabilities on the ball. You're going to get a lot more defensive cover and security with Enzo than you would with Douglas Luiz. What Douglas Luiz is better at, Enzo, is in that final third, getting goal contributions, because every player has his weaknesses. I would say there are two for Enzo. The final third contribution towards goals, because his decision-making can let him down. What he likes to do is, if he's receiving the ball in his own half, he likes to spray the ball, move the ball forward. In the opposition's half, he makes combination plays. He hasn't got that killer final ball instinct, where we've seen that improve with Douglas Luiz throughout the season. That could be down to Unai Emery, so hopefully once Unai Emery gets a hold of him, he can improve that aspect as well. But I would also say another room for improvement is passing with his weaker foot under pressure. Can look shaky at times. So hopefully that will improve with a lot more confidence and more options to pass to. So finally, I've received a question on Twitter: what's he like under pressure? Well, Enzo's fantastic under pressure. Although I couldn't find any stats solely on what he's about under pressure, I looked at stats based on every team's aggressive pressures throughout the season and got an average of them all. So if you look at the Premier Leagues here, look at some of the numbers, they're in like the range of between 10 to 15 points. And this is numbers on teams pressuring opponents. Now, if we look at Serie A, they're quite similar. So that tells me that a lot of teams are pressing more, and the Premier League doesn't really stand out as much as I thought it did for its pressures and players playing under pressure. So if you look across my Twitter, you'll know I've been a huge fan of Enzo for a long, long time. He's a very, very well-rounded midfielder. One of the most complete young midfielders you will come across. Apart from that, just final third decision-making. He's build-up play in the final third. It's fantastic. Brilliant. But he doesn't get in those positions where he can make a difference in that final third. Whether that changes under Unai Emery, we'll yet to see. But going to a team like Aston Villa, on the up as they are, in an elite football club as they are, under a brilliant tactician as Unai Emery, I've got no worries about Enzo Barrenechea succeeding at Villa Park.